the CDF shop. I think you're muted.
My computer is going.
Oh no, you're cutting out.
Oh no,
now.
my computer's like glitching on me right now.
Yeah, this is what happened.
No.
This is what happens when you don't have Rob. You tried.
Oh no, wait, we have to wait. Let me just make sure. Wait, hang on. I got everything plugged in. It's usually all right. Am I still glitching on you?
You sound fine now.
Oh, this is bad.
Wait, am I not late?
Yeah, but there's still a delay, right?
No, I can hear you.
There's a delay. Oh, yeah, but there's a delay between us. This is not good. Hang on.
It's so over.
I might have to restart my computer, dude. I might have to. This is not good.
It's so over. I might have to just like cook for 10 minutes. I'm not restarting this stream. I might have to restart.
Do it for 2. I'm gonna. No, don't restart.
Restart your computer
for 2 minutes. I'll
just sit here and cook. I'll just entertain. So everybody from Anthony's side, come here. I'm just gonna have some fun for the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Wait.
Start his computer. Yeah, well, that's what happens when your computer's broken. You know, everyone leaves you and goes to my live stream. So, how's it going, everybody? All of my illustrious. So he's disappeared now, really. Wow, this is kind of strange. All of my illustrious YouTube followers, YouTube supporters, I want to remind everybody, okay, just as a little reminder, I'm not going to say anything, obviously, about the whole voice of reason situation until Anthony comes back, because we're supposed to discuss that. I don't want to sneak anything behind while he's gone, although that would be really funny if I did do that and try to go behind his back. But it's a reminder to please remember to follow my new shorts account. I have now been only posting all of my shorts on specifically Scholastic Shorts, okay? Scholastic Shorts. So follow that on YouTube. I've been trying to get that to 1,000 followers. So please remember to go and subscribe to Scholastic Shorts on YouTube. Also, subscribe to or follow, I don't know how this works on Instagram. Follow on Instagram, Walmart Thomist, okay? We're trying to grow our accounts in the Instagram sphere. And then for my Shorts account, there was something weird that happened with my Shorts account. So I hope that you guys do that, because if you don't, you're not part of the team, okay? You're also very cringe. Senor Wagner, you are a helpful fellow. Thanks, sir. You're welcome. Longtime watcher, first-time chatter. Thank you, Clark. The late award goes to Christian Wagner. That's Christian B. Wagner to you. But Anthony, he is functioning. You know, Anthony, the thing about Anthony, I really like Anthony. He's sort of a boomer,
here.
Though. He's sort of a boomer.
I heard you. I'm watching you on the live stream. All right, are we good?
Yes, but everybody on Anthony's side now, remember to subscribe to Scholastic Shorts on YouTube.
All right. So wait a minute. I do have a Taffy intro. I don't know what the hell happened there.
If the Taffy intro is bad, guys, I do not take responsibility for it. I do not take responsibility.
Let me, I got to pull all my stuff up again because I've restarted my computer here.
Yeah, somebody asked for the Scholastic Shorts. If you go to my posts page on my YouTube account, I think that's my last post, is the Scholastic Shorts link on my posts, okay? Yes.
Let's see.
So I will post it in chat for all of you fine young men. So you're still trying to figure out how to do this whole intro thing that Taffy made.
I got it. Hang on. Here we go. Ready? Hang on. Here we go. Here we go. Hang on. Ready? Wait. I got it, guys. I promise. Here we go. Ready?
You're just sharing the screen.
Yeah, I'm not. Here we go. I'm trying to figure out who the Mr. Miyagi face is. Tell me if you can figure it out. Taffy always gets us demonetized with the music.
Oh, he's gonna get me demonetized? It's so over.
I don't know. You think that music will get us?
This is from
Yeah.
Who's that?
Axon. Axon.
I have no idea.
Look at my eye.
Wait till you see. Wait till you see
Axon. Axon. Axon.
oh, it's Boris.
Axon. Axon. Come back tomorrow.
It's Michael Voris.
Yeah. Oh, oh, that was Boris. Oh no. Taffy.
Happy. Okay. I do not take responsibility for this.
No, I didn't even pre-watch it. I just
Eddie,
threw it up there.
wait, so that was Michael Voris.
Yes, I guess so. All right. So now that everybody's subscribed to Christian's new shorts channel, we want to make sure we do that. So, all right. Now, I wanted to ask you because what was your initial thought when you watched his video this morning?
Oh, well, I actually watched it last night.
Voice of Reason, because everybody got mad last time we didn't like tell them what we were talking about. We're talking about Alex Jurado from Voice of Reason. He put out an apology video last night. I didn't see it until this morning. What was your original thought when you saw it?
Well, there were some parts in there actually that, like, upon a first listen and without a reflection, they were actually very touching. You know, some of the parts when you were listening to what he was saying, the tone, the manner of speaking, it was actually very touching. A lot of what he said, and it resonates with a lot of people. So that was like first impressions. Like right off the bat, I was listening to it and I was like, wow, this is very, heavy, very emotionally charged. Like I really do feel a lot of what he's saying. Like that's first response right there is definitely. It was in that sphere, like that's what my thoughts were initially.
So even the first run through, I like the whole beginning of the video, I thought was great. I was like, okay, this is okay. But then I cut up two clips that I thought were a little troublesome. And right away when I heard them, I was like, oh, this don't sound right. And I was withholding from even speaking on it. And then I saw Christian Mario put out a video, and his reasoning for putting it out was everybody was kind of just like praising Alex for coming out and saying it. And I had this same exact feeling that Christian Mario had in his video. And his point was, I'm seeing all these Catholics like glazing Alex right now, and nobody's actually seeing through what the problem is here. And what it seemed like to me from the first run through, without even reflecting on it, it felt like him testing out the waters to see if he dips his toes back in, what the reaction would be. And that's just kind of how my first initial thought on it. And then there's another segment that I found pretty problematic when he starts talking about his priest and spiritual father. So
I think what's important for a lot of people to recognize is it's very easy for us to lose our souls over a situation like this when we're talking about somebody else and the possible. On the one hand, I mean, think about how high the stakes are for being rash about this. On the one hand, you could be defaming somebody who has an intense work of grace in their soul, of conversion towards God, a sort of experience that truly makes people saints. But on the other hand, you could also be praising and running covers for somebody who's being deceptive about this. And what I and I'm not accusing him of that, of course, but I think what we need to remember is that Alex, his background, and that's why I said the initial sort of emotional response. But once I sort of reflected on this a little bit more, you have to remember Alex's background. He's a professional actor. Like, that's his job. He's a trained actor, TV show. He's a public speaker. He has professionals working with him to produce this statement, to record this statement. This was something professionally done by somebody who is an actor who had hid this from people for about a decade. Everybody in his life, even his most close friends. So that does not mean, okay, so this is what I want to clarify. This does not mean that he's lying to us. All of those things could be totally not connected with the truth or falsity of the statement, right? So all of those things could be true, and it could also be true that he's completely being genuine with us. And really, we don't know. And that's kind of the point that I'm going to bring forward. But on the other hand, it's also completely possible with all of those factors in mind that this is something which is not genuine. It's something which is a kind of a farce. And really what I want to emphasize is the fact that those two distinct possibilities are on the table. And it's something that we're not going to know which one of those possibilities are true, perhaps ever, or it's going to at least take a while of discerning his future actions. So I want to everybody, sure, rejoice, be glad that he has admitted his faults. That's awesome. That's good. I think it's a positive thing, but also be as innocent as doves and as wise as serpents. Have that wisdom and discernment to be careful not to just jump right in and say, hallelujah, a month has passed. He's completely he's awesome now. Let's get him back on the tour. Yeah. I think that there needs to be caution. There needs to be charity. There needs to be clarity. There needs to be all of those things. They need the difficult sort of like antinomies of Christian perfection is able to hold together what seems to be very opposed virtues, but we have to try our hardest with it.
Look, I'm also going to say I have genuine empathy for him in that this kid I'm calling him a kid. He's 30 years old, but for the past decade, his career path has been public apologist. So he's been, at 30 years old, he finally figured out what he was going to do with his life. And it turns out he blew it would be like going to college for a PhD and then finding out your whole career path is just blown up in smoke. I mean, I have genuine empathy for him in that aspect that, yeah, man, like some things we do completely alienate us from what we thought we were going to be able to do. But I do think the fact that he was using his platform and his position to manipulate does disqualify him from being a public representative of the faith. I just do. And that's not to say that all of us don't have sins. All of us do have sins. I mean, I've had arguments with my wife that I would be mortified if anybody ever saw a video of, things like that. But I do think that there's certain things that kind of disqualify you from being a public representative of the faith. And this video just came off to me as, man, I don't want to try to read the guy's heart. I really don't. But it did have an element of testing the waters out to see how people would react to him implying he might come back. I mean, I'll play the two clips that I had that I found the most problematic, and I'll see if they're the same ones that you thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we need to distinguish like an objective question and a subjective question, and we need to be very clear about this. Objectively, I think there's room for debate. If you have somebody who falls into this sort of sin in public ministry, is there a timeline for them coming back? Like that is, I think, a good faith question that Catholics can have with one another, either harsher, a little bit more laxer stances. I think that's a totally good question that we can have. Then there's the subjective question of when we can see that a timeline is so quick to be evident of some sort of bad dispositions. So if he's coming back in, let's say, 2 months, I think everybody kind of recognizes that that's not good. And that's not sort of like a good faith sort of difference, sort of agree to disagree type situation if somebody's coming back so quickly. So if he's coming back in 5 years, we just disagree. He thinks that it's fine to do that. I don't think it's fine. We just disagree, and I do not doubt that he could be in good faith and hold that position. Like 2-3 months, quick sort of entrance back into the sphere. I don't think that it's acceptable. I think that's a definitely sign of a lack of understanding of how damaging this sort of behavior is to somebody in the public sphere. So I think we need to keep that clear.
Bobby, I'm going to get to your comment, but it's so similar to my thoughts that I want to wait until I play the video clip. So Bobby had a good comment, but I want to play the video clip. Let's do that. Let's actually, I want to play. I have 2 clips I want to play. The first one, let me just get it ready here. You guys know me. I'm not Rob. So, all right, let's play this first one. Let me see what your thoughts are on this part.
And I need everybody to know that my producer, he had no idea about what was going on. He didn't know about any of this. He didn't know. My parish priest, he did not know. My bishop, he did not know. The people who were closest to me, they did not know, because I was keeping my sins in the dark. But like I said, like the Lord tells us, all things will be brought to the light.
So my issue here, when he's saying that his parish priest didn't know, is that because he also mentions that his parish priest had told him he should go to counseling back in November, and he didn't listen. And now he's saying his parish priest didn't know. So does that mean he's been presenting himself for communion for a decade with these kinds of things going on, living in mortal sin? Like, I don't know. That's a big one for me, that his priest didn't know. And now if your priest advised counseling back in November, has he advised you not to come present yourself publicly now? I don't know. It seems like a bad reflection upon the priest at this point by him bringing this up.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely leads you to wonder. But I mean, there's many different circumstances that could explain this. So I want to be careful about drawing any sort of definite conclusion.
Yeah.
Because I know for a lot of people, they don't like going to confession. It seems like he obviously, and he admits this, he had an accountability problem. So if he was going to confession, he probably, part of the accountability problem is you don't want to go to a priest who recognizes you when you go and confess. So I mean, it could be that, but really it would be speculative on my part, and there's other ways of explaining it that aren't insidious.
Yeah, he could be parish hopping for that. Yeah, listen, this isn't about judging Alex's heart here or anything. This is just about it, when something like this happens, like to come out with an apology after a month is appropriate.
Yeah,
that is appropriate, to come out and apologize and publicly admit, that, because I really didn't. I don't think I ever thought he really did something with a minor. My issue was more seeing the manipulation of women by using the Catholic faith. Like, he used the Catholic faith. He used some of Christopher West's theology of the body language to beg these girls, right? Like, he used a lot of that theology of the body stuff, and that kind of really didn't sit well with me. And but the main issue I had was with this one here. Hang on, let me see. Sorry, guys. This was the part that I found difficult.
And that's what I want everyone else, my audience. Even if you feel like you can't support me anymore, if you feel like you have to walk away, I understand, I totally get it. But I just want everyone to at least know that no matter how deep we are in our sin, no matter how broken we are, no matter how fallen we are, no matter the extent of our misery, God can use those things to bring something good out of them. God can turn those things into something that gives glory to Him. And all that I can do now is offer the situation to God and ask Him to take this, put the situation at the foot of the cross, ask for His mercy.
Yeah, it was really just him saying, I understand if those of you can't support me anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what that was supposed to mean. When I listened to that like a second time, I definitely thought that was problematic, because there's a sort of like, what's the connection between the antecedent and the conclusion right there? The antecedent is, I understand you can't support me, but here's this consideration, that is, God can bring good things even out of these bad situations. So yeah, I do think clearly the implication is an intention or desire to come back, but we'll have to see what that looks like, the timeline. Because as I mentioned earlier, it could be done in an appropriate way, or it could be done in an inappropriate way, and so really for now it's kind of speculative.
I thought his best bet would have been to go into like a real program to get help for this kind of issue, and then maybe in a couple of years come out and help young men struggling with similar issues. Like that I could have seen being, because I do think a lot of young men do struggle with this kind of stuff. And maybe he could have, I looked at it kind of like a person who struggles with alcoholism, and they go to AA, and then next thing you know, they're hosting AA meetings and they're helping people with the same addiction. I thought maybe there could have been an avenue for something like that. But I think you're correct in that we have to be very cautious in just, because look, you do, of course, we want Alex to return to the Catholic faith. And of course we want what's best for his soul, and we want him to be welcomed back as a brother. But that doesn't mean we want him in the public for his own good. Not even because we want to rag on him or anything like that. Like for the good of his own soul, you don't want this for him.
Yeah, I also mentioned that there's the difficulty of scandal, because I saw a lot of people, they were the hundreds and hundreds of comments on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter of people basically commenting the same idea of like, oh, if we ever demanded perfection from people who were to be in public ministry, then nobody would be able to do that. Or like, oh, if you're without sin, why cast the first stone? A lot of people are having these sort of reactions, not to say that there is some sort of path forward, a difficult path forward through prayer and penance, to perhaps be, to return back to the public sphere. Like that might happen, and we can discuss whether that's a good idea and maybe how long that takes and things like that. Those are open for discussion. But it's actually people who don't even have that in mind. Rather, the only thing they have in mind is to provide some sort of excuse for the sin and to justify why it isn't that serious of an issue. And I think that it would be one thing if people were to mention the first way of, there's a way through prayer and penance. The healing of God's grace is so awesome to be able to overcome all of these things, which seem to be more so the tenor of actually what Alex himself said. And then there's the other way forward of to just minimalize and to excuse, which a lot of people are doing. So there's genuinely people are being tempted to view these sorts of sins in a very light way through this possibility of him coming back. And I think that's a serious point to consider, is minimizing scandals. Scandal is something that incidentally occurs through a lot of different acts, unfortunately. But to minimize it is an obligation that he has, and to have a return that even has a sort of inkling of being quick, does put forward, whether he likes it or not, and whether it's his intention or not, it does put forward this minimalization of what he did, which we see all throughout the comment sections on all of the different.
I think a big part of the problem is a lot of young guys, and I see this with a lot of young guys. They're like, well, you know, who am I? We can all fall for the trap of lust and have a weak moment. That's not what this was, guys. This wasn't him getting caught with his search history having some shady stuff on it. This is much different than that. Like, this is him using his public platform and knowledge of the Catholic faith to manipulate women. Like, this is a very different thing than having a moment of weakness and giving into your lust, and you know, you have to go to confession because you looked at something wrong. It's not the same thing. This is a very serious thing, and it's not, because I think that's where most of the people, especially the young guys that I see commenting, they're trying to look at it from a place of, oh, I don't want to judge him because I'll be judged like that. Mm-hmm. And that's understandable. I get that. But it doesn't mean he can't be forgiven. It just means he can't maintain the same position he had before.
Yeah, I think this is why I really did appreciate, I don't think we've mentioned it yet, I really actually did appreciate Mario's.
I have his video up. We can go through it after you say this, but
yeah, but with Mario's take, what I found to be so refreshing is that I think that with a lot of these discussions, there is an aspect of Christian realism and Christian common sense, like sanctified common sense, that's just completely lost in these situations, to where, and this is something that my friend River Run is really good with when he's evaluating these sorts of situations. It's like, okay, let's just kind of like cut all of the, the piety signaling. Let's kind of cut all of the sort of antagonism and favoritism towards different individuals, and let's just be kind of honest and realistic with ourselves in considering what went on and the type of effects this has for the future, the habits, the vices that are built. Like, let's just be real with one another. Let's look at the way this affects other people and the way that they see the world, the way that they see sin. Let's kind of like view this a little bit more objectively and abstractly, rather than thinking about this in the terms of, this is the guy I previously really liked, or this is the guy I previously didn't like, or this was the guy I had this or that feeling towards, or this is my own background of the type of sins that I struggle with. Thinking about this kind of just in a common sense, objective way is very refreshing. Because I was talking with somebody earlier, and I said that you really do need to thread the needle on this topic so finely, because it's so emotionally charged, and people, it seems like they just kind of throw away their brains with how they think about these sorts of situations because of all of the aforementioned effects.
And there's this thing that happens now with public like talking heads or, you know, podcasters or whatever, where people see their, you know, an influencer that they like, that it's like they'll defend anything they do because they have this attachment to that influencer. And it's not good. Like, we're all human, and any one of us can make these kinds of mistakes. But I'll tell you right now, if I got caught having an affair on my wife, like, I would disqualify myself from doing this. It's just, I'm sorry. There's just some things that you can't.
I defend you.
Yeah.
I'm joking. That was a joke. That was a joke, guys. I would not defend Anthony. Okay, would not defend him.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I think a lot of people felt this way. I was a little disappointed when he seemed to leave a door open for coming back to public ministry. I think that lacks discernment to bring up in an apology. But that's all. Like, you know, I don't think it's wrong that he came out and admitted to everything. I'll tell you.
The one comment I will make, and this might be extremely controversial, if you will be offended, just cover your ears. I also would really like, I'm very much looking forward to the claim about the texting of the girl when he was a catechist. He didn't deny that any of those texts he didn't say they were fake or anything like that. I really would like to see the results of the investigation, just to kind of get a confirmation there, because, you know, I will give the benefit of the doubt, but, you know, I would like to trust and verify on a lot of these issues. And I think a lot of people have just kind of taken his word for something like that because he admitted the other things. But limited hangout is always possible with these things. But, you know, obviously I'm not making an accusation here. I'm just saying that I
No,
would like to see confirmation.
And not just that, even if she wasn't underage, he was her catechist. He was in a position of authority over her. I mean, that would get you a lawsuit at any company you were working at or anything like that. Somebody's asking, can you ask Wagner how many women is too many women to follow on Instagram?
3.
and they only can be your mother, your sister, or you know, a family member. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it a little light here, but there, look, we went through this in the original video. Like these things are very serious, but I don't like how these young guys are equating what he did to their weakness when it comes to what they look at on the internet. There's a difference in severity. I understand it's the same, you know, it's falling for the same, you know, spirit, I guess. I was saying, you know, it's falling for lust, but this is just different. Like, this guy preyed upon women and preyed upon them in a way where he would know what to look for and what kind of woman to look for, and he knew what to present, and he had a game that he laid out, and he did it repeatedly over and over, and he was successful, and he crafted this over time, and he had a playbook that he ran by, and he did. I mean, this is not, you know, I'm sorry, it's because it sucks, because this weekend I was thinking about like how I'm kind of trapped in this position where I seem to be commenting on everything going on in the Catholic world, but I really don't think anybody has addressed this issue properly. And it was the same thing with the Lila thing the other day when she did her, like there somebody does need to talk about this stuff without, I don't know, without crossing lines and stuff. These are topics that do have to be discussed by Catholics, so that we do it, because other people are looking in, talking about it, and it needs to be discussed amongst us.
Well, I think that it's incredibly irresponsible to not address these sorts of things. And I think that there has been a tendency always in the church, and I think this has always been a bad thing, to misunderstand the precepts around sins of speech, especially things like detraction or things like gossip. And they have misapplied this, especially when it comes to the sins of public figures. If this was your friend at the parish, sure, you know, having a conversation about this, it may, outside of very limited circumstances, probably would be something close to a sin of speech. You have to very much guard yourself against making those statements. But it has always been recognized in the church that there is a certain uniqueness when it comes to public figures. And you can read, for example, St. Ignatius, when he's talking about his, quickly just talking about his examination of conscience and the sins of actions, the sins of thoughts, the sins of words, and how we do or do not sin by sins of words. He's very clear about this, is the unique role of a public figure and the type of things that can be said about a public figure, because these need to be addressed for the common good. And it would be incredibly irresponsible for us, or for at least somebody, not to sort of pick up the mantle of frankly talking about this, the lessons to be drawn, the easy sins that can be fallen into. Like, and for anybody who is on the right or the left of me here, a lot of people have been saying both, of like, oh, Wagner, you know, you're giving too much, or oh, Wagner, you should never talk about this. For both of them, I mean, I've spoken about the dangers that can come from credulousness, you know, very easily believing people on light grounds, especially people who do not have trustworthiness, and also the sins of rashness. Very easy to be rash about this as well. So where there can be sins committed, and where there are moral lessons to be drawn, and where there is a general danger, like what is exactly the problem with talking about this? I think it's from people who either haven't thought about this or have some sort of personal emotional attachment to the situation, which is what I meant about the threading the needle very closely.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. Do you even, because look, this business does require collaboration, right? Like, you and I have two totally different channels, but you and I are collaborating together.
Yeah.
Do you think anybody would even collaborate with him at this point? Like that's like something I've been wondering. If he wants to come back into this, like who would be the first, but unless he's coming on with a guy like me to face a real interview and real questions, like what is this, and this? I don't know. I don't see what, I mean, what's he going to do? Going to go back to Lila's podcast or Matt Fradd's podcast?
No, I don't think that, those types of podcasts would have the interview. I think that there's a lot of clout goblins out there, and I think that a lot of them would be fine with collaborating. Obviously, like on a much smaller scale, but that is something that I think we need to prepare ourselves for. Is the contingency of he's 3 weeks from now trying to make content again. Like, what are the steps? What are the steps to try to oppose this? And I think that it's perfectly reasonable to have an organized way of thinking about how this is opposed, how we explain to people who are of goodwill and are willing to listen why this is a bad thing, and the type of damage it's causing. Because there are a lot of people out there who, they are of goodwill. They have some disorder when it comes to their own emotional involvement in this, whether it's through their own past, whether it's through the way in which Voice of Reason have helped them, but there are of goodwill, and there just needs to simply be an explanation for the type of damage that this does, which one can even see from the words of Voice of Reason himself. It would be hypocritical and contrary to what he said if he was to try to come back in a short space. And I think it's also perfectly appropriate for the contingency of him coming back and collaborating with people, that the people that he collaborates with, that there be to put it in political terms,
consequences.
There'd be no, not consequences. There'd be like secondary sanctions. If you buy Iranian oil, you get sanctioned.
It's a nice show you got there.
Reason you get sanctioned.
That's shame if something happened to it.
Yeah, no, that's a little bit of a joke, but I mean it's kind of serious. When it comes to those people, there should be sanctions.
Vidal, I can't agree with you, Vidal. Lady making money. It depends what you mean by that, right? Like I don't consider what I do making money off the faith. Like I have a podcast with my friend, and we come on here and we talk for 4 hours, 5 hours a week. And I think if people are giving if they're producing content and you enjoy it, they could be paid for it. I don't
Yeah, I mean, this is just against papal statements. And I think this is what we have to be really careful about when we just make intuitive statements like this of like, oh, I don't think laity should be making money off of the faith. The popes, when writing about Catholic Action, said the exact opposite. They said that we actually need people who are cooperators in Catholic Action, who are able to dedicate everything to it. And this is going to look, there's a lot of different aspects of Catholic Action. There's everything from political action to, the educational apostolate, the apostolate of media, people doing media work. There's a lot of different aspects to this, but no, I just completely disagree with that. And the popes disagree as well.
Do you want to play Christian Mario's video?
Yeah. I would like to react to that. Yeah.
Okay, because I think he did a good job. I think honestly, when he put that out, I was like, this is spot on.
Yeah,
it was exactly
people. Yeah,
is exactly what I was thinking, and I consider David a friend. Let's see. Let's bring it up.
Okay, so I had a few thoughts on Vor, and I wanted to share really quickly because a lot of people are very upset with.
And look, I do think we should, because I heard somebody say we should be calling him Alex Jurado, but like Voice of Reason is his rap name, and like we gotta call him by his rap name is how I see it. So I don't know about Vor, but
my post where I criticize him for posting that he now has a robust prayer life after his sexting scandal. And I think I just wanted to explain some of this for people that I think have like maybe a faulty understanding of what it means to forgive in Christianity, or maybe they don't have a good understanding of discernment. But a few things. I'm not trying to sound patronizing. I just think this is genuinely concerning. When you're caught with your pants down, caught doing something extremely immoral, like leveraging your ministry to get women to sext you or in sexual situations with you, and you disappear for a month, and then you post a video where you say, I don't know what the future holds for my ministry, and then you say, I understand some of you won't be able to support me anymore. That sounds like a guy who's shaken by the fact that he's been caught, but it does not sound like a guy who understands it's time to pack it up and let his ministry go, because he still wants to go online, presumably, and see if he has a shot to get his foot back in the door. Because why else would you say those who can't support me anymore? And why else would you say, I don't know what the future holds for my ministry? Bro, I know what the future holds for your ministry. It's time for you to stop. You used your ministry to leverage women into sex. That's bad. And people will respond by going, or into sexual situations at least. I don't know about what if you slept with these women or not. I don't care. But you used a ministry to leverage women into a bad spot. That's not good. And so for the people that are responding going, well, all men have sexual sin. Okay, well, like, congrats. You're not understanding what I'm saying at all. Yeah, but do all men use ministry and influencer status to have a bunch of groupies? Is that what all men do? I don't think so. I don't think that's true at all. So, yeah, it seems like a lot of guys with zero discernment go, well, oh, guys, he said sorry, so now he's untouchable, and now, and now we all have to be super graceful and, like, just accept him or it's rash judgment. No, it's just discernment, dude. I mean, if somebody beats his wife and then says, sorry, everybody, I'm not going to beat my wife anymore, are you really going to trust him to be around his...
I think beating his wife would be less. Do you want to pause it at all? Or you want to just play it through?
No, it's I think I want to play it through.
All right, we'll play it all the way through.
Wife again and not beat her? I mean, I wouldn't. Maybe you would. But going on,
no, that analogy works if the guy beat his wife and he's going out giving marriage counseling, right? Like that's more of an apt analogy. Like if a guy's a marriage counselor and he's telling people how to have a healthy marriage, and then a video comes out of him beating his wife, that would be a more apt analogy, I think. So,
camera for 25 minutes with all of these super dramatic pauses. And then saying that you're holier than thou because now he didn't say he was holier than thou, but now saying I have a more robust life that we should all aspire to. Really? So the scandal happens and now you're holier than ever? Yeah, okay.
Look, I want to stop it there for a second because Alex did do that. Like he commented how, after this month, I have this robust prayer life. And he said how he's going to counseling once he's gone to counseling every week. So he's gone to 4 counseling sessions and he's praying every day, which is, he probably should have been praying anyway. But it is kind of strange how he's presenting that. And I'm not saying he's holier than thou, but Christian's kind of right in his analysis here, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's really hard because, as I mentioned, it's a lot of speculation, and I don't like to speculate, but it is like objectively difficult to. And I want to acknowledge this. It's very objectively difficult to make a apology video and make it not sound really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there's always the because you can kind of plug and chug the way in which a lot of these secular apology things went. It's like, oh, I said the N-word. I'm really sorry about saying the N-word. I'm a much better person now. Like I've gotten a lot better about saying the N-word. I'm friends with a lot of black people now. It's like there's a sort of script that often gets followed, but we also have to remember is like, what else are you supposed to say? Like, are you supposed to say like, I said it, I'm really sorry. I still say it. I still struggle with saying it. It's like, dude, come on. Like that's like a really bad apology video. If you're just like, I'm sorry for doing it, I still do it. So like on the one hand, yeah, it is sort of like a cliche and that's kind of how they all go. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, what else is he supposed to do? Is he supposed to say like, yeah, I did it. My prayer life was really bad. It's still kind of crappy. And I still kind of, want to sin. And, I still kind of, that would just be like, okay, what are you even saying now? Like, this shouldn't even be an apology video. Like, why did you even make this in the first place? I think it's just like a sin of the genre. Honestly, if something like this happened to me, I probably wouldn't make a big old statement. I'd probably just like take the L and disappear because it's just hard to not make it something like this. And I get why, especially in the spiritual life, it can be especially grating to people like Mario, because it's awesome to witness to the power of mercy and the power of God's grace, but it's hard to sometimes witness to that power and that mercy without it sounding like you are now getting on a pedestal and lecturing other people about how these things work. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and also there's a degree of this, right? So, okay, so we apologize. Do we just move him to another parish now?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same idea of like the moving the priests around the parishes. It's if you just go to a different ministry sort of idea. But yeah.
Let me finish Christian's video out because I hate when I watch people react to videos and they don't just let the video play out. So I'll let it finish out before we comment again.
And maybe that's true, but it seems like it's something that you're saying as an angle to get people to trust you. And then at the end, you performatively read a long prayer in front of everybody. That's never sat well with me when anybody does that. Orthodox, Catholic, probably, yeah, I don't care. It's never sat well with me. The public praying and all this sort of thing. There's a difference between posting a prayer on Twitter that you think's pretty. There's a difference between, things like that and performatively videoing yourself praying. Okay. It just doesn't sit well with me. So that's my thoughts on Vor. And, I'm really tired of all the moralizing in the comments. Like, he who without sin cast the first stone. Dude,
I'm just pausing it to annoy everybody, but I'm going to finish it.
Dude, I have sin. I'm just saying that this dude shouldn't have his ministry that he used to leverage women into sexual situations anymore. That's it. And I'm saying that I don't buy it. I don't buy that he's not trying to have a foot back into the ministry. If he said that he was walking away from the ministry, I would respect him. But that's not what he said. Instead, he's acting like, any indication I can come back in, guys, and make that Catholic Inc. money? I want some of that Catholic Inc. money. And it just lacks all integrity. And the only reason I'm the one talking about it is because I don't see the Catholics talking about it. Before I saw them calling him out, but now that he said sorry, it seems like it's all good for everybody. So I'm going to be the one to talk about it if nobody else is.
So that's what made me want to do this video today, is because he called me out, basically. And somebody called him the Timu Anthony Abadi. I thought that was hilarious.
I liked when somebody said, I thought this was a Captive Dreamer video at first.
Taco Talks, Ortho Taco Talk video.
It fell over.
Yeah, look, he's Christian Mario. That was a good analysis. I think. Yeah, look, there's always a danger in pointing at others' sins, right? Like this past Sunday was just the publican and the tax collector, and
for the schismatics, not for the Novus Ordo. For the bogus Ordo was not.
Wait. I've read the Novus Ordo reading too. Hang on, wait. What was the Novus Ordo this week?
It was set the world on fire. Set the world on fire. Yes.
You sure?
Jesus says he has desires.
No, he came to bring brother against brother, sister against sister,
yes,
right? Yeah, okay.
Okay, I forgot it for a second, but I
know the Novus Ordo reading of you. But no, we had the publican and the tax collector for the
me calling you out for not knowing the Novus Ordo reading was basically publican and tax collector behavior. I was the tax collector. Like, look at this poor schismatic, this rad trad over here that does not know his Novus Ordo reading.
The funny thing is, I always read both. I always do read both. So I did know it was brother against brother. So I've come to bring peace, not peace, but the sword. But the publican and the tax collector is such an interesting one because we all want to think we're the publican, like, oh, Lord, have mercy on me. So there is a danger in us pointing somebody else's sin out and say, like, oh, thank God I'm not like voice of reason, right? But really, there is an element of any one of us could fall into something like this. This is the point of practicing custody of the eyes and not putting yourself in a situation where you could fall into there's a whole set of things that come along with when you're Catholic, that you have to make sure you don't put yourself in a situation where you could fall into these things. And a lot of, I think, what happened to Alex was he wasn't on guard for the devil. Like the devil is, roaming the world, seeking the ruin of souls.
Yeah, I think this is also why when last time and this time as well, you'll find this funny. I actually just turned off the comment sections on my video. Because it's weird, is like these situations when people go into when people go into like argue about this and blood sport about this, like this becomes a very strong occasion of sin to people. Is either, you know, they will uncharitably judge my motives, they'll uncharitably judge your motives, they'll say crazy things about voice of reason. You know, it's these sorts of things are very rare for there to be a sort of level-headed, objective critique of saying, "Hey, Wagner, you said this point about, you know, him being an actor and how this connected to your analysis of the situation. I think it's wrong for this, and this reason from his back." Like, people aren't giving like critical, like objective analysis of the points that you made. They're usually just like accusing me of like sins or.
How dare you even talk about this? This is gossip. Yeah. And yes, guys, I did mess that up. It's obviously the publican is the tax collector. It's the publican and the Pharisee. I apologize, guys.
Oh, frick. Yeah, I messed that
up. Yeah, look, anytime I always get those comments whenever I discuss anything like this, where people just jump in the comments and they're like, "How dare you?" Like, as if we're trying to start a fight within the Catholic world, and that's not at all what we're doing. I know you and I actually, when we spoke this afternoon, it was, look, we want to actually try to help people not be overly rash on this, right? Like, you don't want people to just come down and curse the person to damnation. And the other one is be too gullible and welcome somebody in and believe every single word that they're saying. There just has to be a level of, we have to be cautious when things like this happen.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize this, but gullibility is a vice. Like, it's usually called credulousness, but gullibility is a vice because you have a moral obligation to be careful and prudent and aware and to have discernment about these sorts of situations. So it's almost as if people are demanding that I sin by throwing away a sort of common sense reading of the situation, and through, like, obviously, you know, my experience with human nature, like my experience with myself, my own vices, how those vices get overcome, my experience with other people and the sort of background details that they have and how sin generally works and its effects. It's like inconceivable for me to just kind of throw this all away and to just pretend like, you know, oh, I guess I will just go beyond giving somebody the benefit of the doubt and go into a sort of like an infallible assent of faith to every word they say because they said an apology. And I think Mario's completely, you know, he kind of said that the emperor had no clothes on that one, because I almost saw a complete and unanimous, like, positive reception outside of Mario. And like, I tried to soften the blow on the way in which I phrased it, but he kind of just, you know, went out and said it, sort of a wrecking ball.
Yeah. Well, look, I remember the first apology Alex came out with was, everybody was doing the same thing. And we were like, wait a minute, like, hold on. He's not actually addressing what he's being accused of. He's just addressing the minor accusation.
Yeah.
And, you know, but part of it is, it's not just that, because all of us, especially me and you in this arena, like, we all struggle with a bit of vanity, right? Like, we're all trying to fight vanity, right? But part of what he's dealing with is not just the stuff behind the scenes, but it's the public spotlight itself, right? So I still don't think he's on guard, because he's fighting to get back to the status that greatly contributed to the fall to begin with. Like, the reason we did the first video, he came out with that first apology, a bunch of people came out and we discussed it. And I think us discussing it and then other people speaking on it is what caused him to take that initial step back to begin with, because he came out firing out with an apology right away, like he was going to come out, defend himself, and stay in the public spotlight. But I think the amount of public pressure made him take a step back, and I think it's good for his soul to keep that pressure on him. Like, I'm actually concerned with Alex's soul. This isn't just about me not liking Alex or something. It's not anything to do with that. It's that I'm very concerned that he's going to jump right back into this and fall back into old habits, because these kinds of habits that we're talking about take way more than a month to actually free yourself from. These are things that,
yeah, I was just going to say, you're exactly right. There was something interesting in Providential this morning. I was reading something in St. Thomas about vainglory, and basically for him, he's like, vainglory is it's good and it's proper to seek the good that is due to you. Like that's totally fine. That's totally good. But to seek an undue good is vicious. And that's sort of like the root of pride. Pride is seeking an undue good. But vainglory is specifically seeking the good of adulation. So like other people, desire, sort of viewing you in a positive light. And he says this is specifically vainglory. You're seeking glory from others in ways that are not appropriate. And he describes what are called the daughters of vainglory. He says, like, basically, what are those means whereby one will use to further this vice? And one of them is hypocrisy. It's very interesting. He says hypocrisy is one of the daughters of vainglory because one is seeking this sort of undue adulation so much from other people that they're willing to hide their own vices, and they're willing to propose something outwardly that's different so that people do not stop this adulation of them. And I think one of the dangers to having, a response like we've had so far is it does tempt him to vainglory. It does tempt him to hypocrisy, to not be honest with himself and open about his own faults, because of the sort of adulation, the universal adulation that was received from this. And it would seem like this adulation would falter rather, if there was an acknowledgement that the good resolution that he expressed was not carried out in perfection. So yeah, this is absolutely right. These sorts of responses can very easily, especially for somebody who's not constantly guarding themselves against it, it can very easily beget this vice of vainglory through hypocrisy.
Yeah, listen, I'll tell you that's something I struggle with, right? Like I like being the center of attention. I like, I no matter where I go to, it's not just on this show. Like I go to a party, I'm always trying to be the funny guy. I want everybody to always, it's not easy to fight that. And I think any of us that step into this area probably do struggle with it, right? Like we want the attention. But if you're also struggling with something like that, this kind of hypes that up. And, I mean, yeah, I'm genuinely concerned for Alex.
Well,
like,
I think a lot of the people, they're good intention when they're saying stuff like this, because the way that they view it is they kind of view this in a feminine way. I mean, I don't mean this to be like super offensive, but it's just, this is how females work. When you have somebody who comes out with something like this, the instant desire is to have that sort of like comforting presence, like, oh, I'm standing by you, I'm standing behind you, oh, it's okay, it's we receive you, we accept you. And that's like a very feminine coded thing.
Yeah.
If I like, for me as a man, if I fall into some sort of vice like this, I'm going to want somebody to keep their foot on my neck. Say like, oh, I messed up, I screwed up. Like, I don't want them to just like be super soft with me. Like, I want them to be very realistic with me. Be like, hey, dude, like, you need to make sure you're doing this, this, and this. Like, let's, I will help you out. This is the support of a man for another man. I will help you out with the means and advice that you need in order to overcome this. But the sort of like emotional comforting that comes from praising somebody else, like that is a very feminine coded thing. So where a lot of people out there who are maybe women or maybe men who are more effeminate, who are commenting on these issues, they may not recognize that this is, for a man, having a sort of infinite adulation, infinite sort of acceptance, and like you described it earlier, glazing, to have that sort of response can often do a lot of damage to somebody. It's not the fact that we don't like Alex or that we despise Alex or anything like that, that we're taking this more objective approach. It's the fact that actually this is exactly what needs to happen. And it's unfortunate that there hasn't been this perspective from more people.
Yeah, the people that love him. I made this point in our first conversation. Like the people that love him should be the first ones telling him you don't belong doing this. Like for the good of you. I feel like I'm the only, like, I don't want to say me, but whatever. I feel like we were the only ones when we came out and talked about this. Everybody was accusing us of something when in reality, I felt like we were the only ones caring enough about him to talk about this, to tell him, no, this is not okay. You cannot just come out with this weak apology and then just get right back into this thing. So supporting your friend means dragging them to heaven, not cheering them on as they sprint towards hell. Hold your people accountable. Yeah, there's an element of justice that we've lost in the church, that it's this overemphasis on mercy to the point where people downplay the seriousness of sin. And it's happened throughout the church at this point, where everything is just kind of downplayed to lowering the moral standard. And especially over the past, couple of decades, where you hear all the time, like, sins of the flesh are the least of the sins. And they are in that they're probably like, Jesus always forgave the prostitute and things like that, but sins of the flesh lead to sins of the heart. So you have to hold people accountable when it comes to things like that for their heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I definitely agree. I think that this is a sort of way forward that we all need to be. And this is sort of a message for a lot of you guys. It's very easy when you see a lot of these people who, and this is something that I've had to like learn a lot and try to check myself on a lot. When you see other people who are like in these comment sections just saying like, oh, are you perfect? Oh, like, you shouldn't, like, you're gossiping, like accusing you of all of these things, speaking ill of your name, all of these different things, just for having a very sort of moderate, level-headed, realistic take on this, obviously, like not committing any sort of sins against him. Just to recognize that other person, yes, they are doing something which is objectively wrong. You need to get into their sort of mindset of how they're falsely thinking about this, and try to explain it to them in a way to where they understand why this is something which is based on love. It's not based on hatred or judgmentalness. It's based on love for him, and most importantly, the love that one ought to have for all of his neighbors, all of those neighbors who are, and all of those fellow Catholics of yours who are seeing this situation play out. And if they see this treated in a way that is not in accordance with prudence and not in accordance with those principles in which we ought to hold of common sense, then what's going to happen is a lot of your brethren are going to be falling into sin. They're going to be genuinely scandalized. This is what scandal means. Scandal means not offending somebody. Scandal means that you are leading another person into sin. Yeah. Scandal happens by example. And part of the example is a very light treatment of these sorts of situations. And you can play into the hand of scandal by treating them in this way. So I would encourage everybody who's probably a lot more listening right now is probably a lot more sympathetic to what I'm saying, to when you are interacting with those other people, try to actually like explain things. I know it's really hard. I have the temptation to just like block the person or just like tell them they're being an idiot or say like, okay, are you dumb? It's like, it's very easy to do that. And like, I'm always tempted to do that. But at your better moments, try to reflect on this fact that you need to do that.
All right. So honestly, I do think everybody needs to pray for Alex. And I mean that genuinely. I'm not just like saying, like, really pray for Alex. And I think if Alex does see this, Alex, you need to consider another line of work. You need to figure something else out. Like, this is not the path. You're not going to be a Catholic commentator. You're not going to be an apologist. You're not going to be a catechist. It's not going to happen. You have to figure something else out. I don't know what that means for you, but this ain't it. And I don't think anybody should enable him to come back into this space out of love for him, not out of enmity or anger or anything like that, out of love for him and out of care for the people who enjoyed him. There's just, you just kind of have to do this. I honestly, I feel bad for him because I can't imagine what that's like. But it's not. But he doesn't have a wife and children, so this, it's not the end of the world for him. It's not like he's going to be out on the street or anything. But he needs to figure something else out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of different ways in which this could look. I think that one of the most illustrative examples of this from a previous generation, which we brought up in the beginning, is actually the situation with Michael Jones and Michael Voris. So for those who don't know, Michael Voris continuously practicing homosexual for a very long time, including after he reverted to the church. And this was about to be exposed, so he himself admitted to it in an apology video that bears striking resemblance to a lot of what Voice of Reason was saying. And he came back, he said, I repented, I left that lifestyle behind. Everyone's like, oh, okay, this is awesome. Michael Jones, after that was exposed, said, no, you were a practicing homosexual for a very long time. You can see the effects of some of these sins. These sins are very grievous, and they affect your soul at such a deep level that you need to step away for a very long time. Go behind the scenes. You can still work in media, but go behind the scenes. Don't be in front of the camera. That easily plays into your pride. It plays into a lot of different vices that homosexuals often struggle with. So you need to sit back. I will myself, like he said, become the owner or CEO of the company. And Michael Voris completely refused. A few years later, it was exposed that Michael Voris was engaging in the same exact behavior of a sort of homosexual strain, and he lost everything. Church Militant completely fell apart, and then now he's still trying to seek attention on some backwater YouTube channel, getting 100 views after apologizing for the 70th time. And I think this is an illustrative example. And the advice of Michael Jones is prudence. Get away from the camera. Can very easily inflame a lot of those bad dispositions that are acquired through these types of sins. And you don't need to completely leave in every single way. Anthony probably disagrees with me, but you don't need to leave completely in every single way. You can write stuff. You can, there's a behind the scenes, you could edit videos. Like there's a lot of different ways you can help Catholic Action if truly that is your passion and not wanting to get back in front of the camera. So yeah, I think that everybody should look back and think about the Michael Voris, Michael Jones situation, because it could easily spiral into something like this. And it shows a lot of the same patterns, actually.
That's actually really, really good advice that you just like there's other ways you could do this without being in the public eye like that. Like if you really do have something to contribute, you just don't need your face and name out there like that. You could just contribute and even have a pseudonym or something like that if you think it's valuable to the church. And this is, that's a totally different way to go about it. That's an interesting point. I didn't even think of something like that. Christian, you got a little bit longer. I want to talk to you on locals for a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm supposed to play Call of Duty a little bit later, but
no, I need you like 20 minutes. I want to get to the bottom of this Catholic Inc. thing that you went and did, this creator conference.
Okay,
pictures we're going to talk about. We're going to get on you a little bit. We're not going to do it on YouTube. No.
We can talk about that. You can harass me about it.
Yeah, no. We're gonna do a little talk. I want to see how your weekend over there was with them. So if you guys aren't Locals members, come join us over on Locals. I want to talk to Christian a little bit about some of the things he did while he was over there. And maybe get to the bottom of some of his scandal that he's put forth before everybody. So I'm gonna start removing these other streams. Facebook's gone.
And everybody on my channel, real quick, want to go through some of these super chat. Hey boys, your Boomer Mimi here. Hello, Boomer Mimi. Pray the rosary, so true. Pray the rosary at the TLM, so true. And yeah, that's all of them. But everybody, reminder, follow the Shorts account. I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye.
Yeah, anybody that's subbed to Christian and not Avoiding Babylon, go sub to Avoiding Babylon. Anybody that's sub to Avoiding Babylon and not Scholastic Answers, go sub.
Yeah,
sub
because
over there.
I'm like 500 away from 30K, so getting
Yeah.
getting close.
And Christian's a really good friend, and we want to support our friends. So there may be me and Christian have talked about like conferences in the future and things like that. So there might be some things coming up. So help one another's channels out and share the show. And here goes the YouTube.